The morning sun rose slowly over the busy international airport, painting the glass walls of the terminal with warm golden light. The constant hum of announcements, rolling suitcases, and hurried footsteps filled the air like a heartbeat of a city that never truly slept. People from different countries walked past one another without speaking, carrying their stories inside their luggage. Some were traveling for business. Some were returning home after long separations. And some were chasing dreams they were not yet ready to name. At Gate B12, a security officer stood with his arms folded across his chest. Officer Daniel Harris had worked at the airport for nearly 12 years. He had seen thousands of passengers pass through, rich businessmen with expensive watches, students carrying oversized backpacks, families crying as they hugged goodbye, and pilots. Pilots always carried themselves differently. There was a confidence in the way they walked, the way their uniforms sat perfectly pressed against their shoulders. Pilots were usually recognized before they even spoke. Today, however, something was bothering Officer Harris. He narrowed his eyes as he watched a man standing near the departure gate. The man was wearing a dark navy pilot uniform. Clean, professional, immaculate, but something felt unusual. The man was black. Not that it mattered to Harris consciously, but the airport had its rules. And sometimes experience told him that something worth verifying was worth verifying. The man was standing calmly beside a large black travel bag, checking his wristwatch while occasionally glancing toward the boarding hallway leading to the aircraft parked outside. Officer Harris walked closer. His polished boots tapped softly against a marble floor. "Excuse me, sir," Harris said politely but firmly. The pilot turned. He was about 38 years old, with deep brown eyes that carried a quiet intelligence. His face was smooth except for a faint scar near his left eyebrow, a mark that told a story he never spoke about. "Yes, officer," the man replied. His voice was calm. Too calm, Harris thought. Pilots usually responded quickly and confidently. This man spoke like someone who was used to being underestimated. "I need to verify something," Harris said. The pilot nodded slowly. "No problem." Harris glanced at the pilot's badge. It showed the name, Captain Marcus Adebayo, Senior Airline Flight Crew. Harris paused for a moment. The surname was unfamiliar to him, though the airport hosted people from all over the world. "Captain Adebayo," Harris said, "do you have your airline authorization card?" Marcus reached into his jacket pocket slowly, not suspiciously, just deliberately. He removed a laminated identification card and handed it over. Harris examined it carefully. The card contained the airline logo, the pilot's photo, employee number, and security barcode. Everything looked legitimate, but Harris had worked long enough to know that fake identification technology had become very sophisticated in recent years. He turned the card slightly under the light. The photo matched. The holographic security mark was present. Still, something inside him wasn't satisfied. "Which aircraft are you assigned today?" Harris asked. "Flight A442 to London," Marcus replied. Harris nodded. That was the same flight scheduled for boarding in about 20 minutes. "Your rank," Harris continued. "Senior Captain." The words were spoken without pride, without hesitation, like a fact rather than a declaration. Harris studied the man's face. There was something strangely composed about him. Most people under questioning would show at least a little discomfort. This man stood like someone waiting patiently for a storm to pass. "Sir," Harris said carefully, "I hope you understand. We receive security alerts, sometimes regarding impersonation cases." Marcus nodded again. "I understand completely, officer." Silence followed for a moment. The airport loudspeaker announced boarding preparation for international passengers. Children laughed somewhere behind them. A coffee machine hissed as it released steam. Harris looked at the pilot once more. "May I ask one more question?" "Go ahead." "What is the name of the airline's chief operations director for this route?" Marcus did not respond immediately, not because he was thinking hard, but because he was remembering something. After about 3 seconds, he said, "Dr. Helen Carter oversees operational authorization for long-haul flights departing from Terminal 2. Harris blinked slightly. That was correct. He hadn't expected it. Still, He wasn't finished. Who conducted your last simulator certification review? Captain Luis Mendoza. 3 months ago. Another correct answer. Harris felt a small knot forming in his stomach, because the man spoke with certainty. Not guessing, not hesitating, just knowing. At that moment, a woman in airline uniform approached from the boarding corridor. She looked surprised to see the security officer speaking to the captain. "Captain Adebayo," she said brightly. "We were looking for you." Marcus turned slightly. "Yes, Maria? Sorry for the delay. The ground crew just finished final technical confirmation. The senior operations team is already preparing the cockpit." She smiled politely at Officer Harris. "Is everything all right?" Harris hesitated. "Yes, just routine verification." The woman nodded. "Oh, okay. Captain Marcus is our senior captain for today's long-haul flight. We had a minor schedule adjustment because our original commander called in sick." She looked at Marcus with quiet professional respect. "Captain, the chief steward is waiting for your pre-flight briefing." Marcus nodded. "Thank you." Then he turned to Officer Harris. "Officer, may I ask something?" "Yes, Captain." Marcus spoke gently. "Do you enjoy working at the airport?" The question caught Harris off guard. No passenger or crew member usually asked him that. He thought about it for a moment. "Yes," Harris said finally. "I believe security work helps people travel safely." Marcus nodded slowly. "That is a good reason." Then he added quietly, almost like sharing a personal thought. "People often assume confidence belongs only to those who look like they belong in certain places." Harris said nothing. Marcus continued. "I spent years studying aviation. Flight training was difficult, not because of physics or engineering, but because sometimes people believed I was in the wrong room before I even spoke." The statement was not angry, just factual. Harris felt a strange heaviness in his chest. He remembered the first time he met a black commercial pilot during his early years at the airport. How some passengers had looked surprised when they saw him entering the cockpit. The world was changing slowly, but not evenly. Marcus adjusted the strap of his shoulder bag. "If everything is in order, officer, I should prepare for boarding." Harris handed back the identification card. "Yes, Captain. Thank you for your cooperation." Marcus accepted it. Then he did something unexpected. He extended his hand. Harris shook it. The captain's grip was firm but controlled, not trying to prove strength, just respectful. "Have a safe shift," Marcus said. "You too, Captain," Harris replied. Marcus walked toward the crew access door, but Harris did not immediately leave. He watched as the captain approached the aircraft boarding passage. The flight crew members standing near the door straightened slightly when they saw him. One of them said, "Good morning, Captain." Another said, "The cockpit systems are ready." Marcus nodded. Then he paused, and something happened that Harris would remember for years. An elderly passenger standing nearby asked a flight attendant quietly, "Is that man really the pilot?" The attendant answered confidently, "Yes, ma'am. He is our senior captain." The passenger smiled softly. "Good. I feel safer already." Harris felt something tighten in his chest again. Not discomfort, not regret, but awareness. He turned and walked back toward a security post. The airport announcements continued echoing through the terminal. Passengers continued moving. Life continued flowing. But inside Harris's mind, the encounter replayed itself. The calmness in the captain's voice, the precision of his answers, the dignity in the way he carried himself. Later that afternoon, during his break, Harris searched the airline database out of professional curiosity. He found Captain Marcus Adebayo's record. Graduated from Advanced Aviation Academy. Over 15 years of flight experience. Former instructor pilot. Recognized for exceptional long-distance flight leadership. And there was a note at the bottom. Known for maintaining exceptional professionalism during security verification procedures. Harris exhaled slowly. He did not feel embarrassed. Security was security. But he understood something deeper now. Sometimes authority was not about appearance. Sometimes it was about preparation, discipline, and quiet confidence carried through years of invisible struggle. 3 weeks later, Harris was assigned night duty when Flight A442 returned from London. As passengers disembarked, he saw Captain Marcus walking to the corridor carrying his flight bag. Marcus noticed him. He smiled slightly. "Good evening, Officer Harris." "Good evening, Captain. How was the flight?" "Smooth. The weather over the Atlantic was kind tonight." Harris hesitated for a moment. Then he said, "Captain, I want to tell you something." "Yes." "I apologize if my questioning that day felt personal." Marcus shook his head. "No apology is necessary." He paused, then added, "You were doing your job." Silence followed. Then Marcus said quietly, "I hope one day people will not be surprised when they see who sits in the cockpit." Harris nodded. "I hope so, too." Marcus walked away into the night terminal lights. His silhouette slowly merged with the crowd of travelers moving toward their next destinations. And somewhere far above, an aircraft continued flying to the dark sky, carrying strangers' dreams and stories that would never be told. Because sometimes the most powerful journeys are not about proving who belongs where, but about arriving anyway. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this chilling story, please like and subscribe for more stories like this.